What's up, everybody? It is Slippin' Jimmy, aka just CJ, at Dad's That Bet here on Dad's Bet Baseball. I am going solo tonight. I am letting my fellow dad celebrate a well-deserved little bit of relaxation and break over at the Cape. So he will be joining us back later this week. Man, would have been a great time to have you on though, Adam, because of the breaking news that happened prior to this pod. So I'm going to get to that in just a second, but I just want to throw a shout out to any of the dads listening today. Happy Father's Day. Hope it has been a great one for you. You've had hopefully maybe a weekend to get to celebrate, get to spend time with your kids, your family. I'm honored to be here on Dad's Bet Baseball on Father's Day. Really happy to get to record this one tonight. So with that, we got a gift. Talk about the gifts that we got for Father's Day. We got a gift from Jeff Passan about an hour ago, which was Rafael Devers. Rafael Devers, who had just signed a $300+ million contract, 10 years with the Red Sox just 2 years ago, is making his way to the Bay. He is going to the San Francisco Giants for starter Kyle Harrison, starter Jordan Hicks. I have not seen it. It has said there are other players to be named that are going to be part of this deal. So I'm not a guy that's like willing to give, gut sort of trade grades and immediately say, was this a great trade? Was this a bad trade? Like, one, I got to see what the other pieces are going to come out from that trade. My immediate thought was timing was interesting, given that the Red Sox obviously have won 8 of 10. They're coming off their best sweep of the season. And yeah, so I am surprised at the timing of this, especially given when Bregman went down. Devers refused to even volunteer to go, Costas went down and then he wouldn't refuse to go to first base. So, that I'm also kind of waiting to see a little bit more tea leaves coming out. I had heard some stuff about that the ownership wasn't happy with someone they're paying that much money to. We'll get more of that information, I'm sure, in the coming days. But let's talk about this from a actionable or betting perspective, because it's funny. I had actually planned for this evening to talk a little bit about to make a playoff market and go over those teams. Naturally, this trade has completely nuked that market. So we will not actually see the yes or no to make the playoffs lines, most likely until at least, I'd say, like tomorrow, early morning Eastern. We'll certainly are going to let the Giants game finish up tonight and then come back out with updated to make the playoff lines. In terms of just a quick kind of like overview of the trade itself, if you're just kind of looking at this for what the Red Sox gave up, Devers is a 1.9 WAR player so far this year. You'd be surprised that doesn't lead the team. He's actually third in WAR on the team right now. Part of that is because he does not play in the field. He's a designated hitter. So you're not going to get any sort of credit for playing any sort of, wins or value added from any sort of your defensive contributions, right? So third in WAR, he's actually second in WRC plus. Bregman actually was leading the team in that, but he does a 145 WRC plus, which is quite good. I mean, if you go and just look at the players right now who are leading that category, Devers ranks 18th overall in that. So, still a top 20 player by WRC plus, but I do think, when you look at the number of RBIs, he's got 57 so far this season. He is third in the majors in that. You may think that he actually has a little bit more of value that he has added to the team. And some of the maybe more advanced stuff says, very, very good player, but is he a top 5, top 10 batter that maybe the perception is? Not necessarily. So that's at least a little bit interesting to me. The Kyle Harrison and Jordan Hicks that are coming back in this trade. Now, Hicks, I'm not a big Hicks guy. He has, obviously shown at times to have some elite stuff, but I just look at him. I really kind of just see him as more in like the Tyler McGill camp, in that I don't think Hicks is necessarily made to be a guy that can give you 5 to 6 innings consistently. I do think that he could be somebody that could help the Red Sox, bullpen issues. And that could be somebody that they call, or add to the pen. Possibly could be even, maybe like a future closer for them. He does rank 92nd in percentile in fastball velo this season. He's been tremendous at inducing ground balls. So I think there's at least some sort of role for him, in the bullpen for the Red Sox, which they definitely could use some help there. I do like the addition there of Kyle Harrison. I mean, young player, only 23 years old. And if you go and kind of look at some of his stuff right now, he's got an expected ERA of 3.86, expected FIP of 3.83. Pretty good ground ball rate, though, and the 56.4% so far this season. I do like that. So pretty good at least trying to keep balls on the ground. He has been, getting hit quite a bit in terms of some contact on the BABIP side, and his, some of the other stuff like K per nine, not necessarily great. Although, and I also don't necessarily love his K minus, walk to rate, K minus BB rate, which is 10.6%. So there's still, though, I think a lot of room for him to grow. That could certainly be a starter. He will be definitely somebody who can contribute to the team. And apologies there, by the way, 16% on K minus BB. I was looking at Jordan Hicks there instead of switching tabs. But so I think Harrison, though, could at least help that starting rotation a little bit this season. So we will, kind of see where he fits in terms of betting. What would I be looking for? You're certainly going to get a better price, I think, immediately on the Red Sox. And I do think if you're going to try and bet on the Red Sox, I know Adam put a future in this weekend where he was putting them to make the ALCS in terms of an exact matchup with the Tigers. I'm going to wager that price is probably better. So sorry, Adam. I think you might actually have a better price than you could have even bet them this weekend, given that I think the perception by the market will be that this is a downgrade for this season. So if you already like the Red Sox, I think there's going to be a chance to buy here in the next couple of days. And this is kind of an interesting opportunity because they've been playing really well. And like I said, 8-2, coming off that sweep of the Yankees. They have a better divisional record against basically all of the wild card teams that are ahead of them, which would be the Blue Jays, the Tampa Bay Rays. There's opportunities here for them to be able to make up some ground. As for the Giants, this tells me more that Chapman is. Will we even see Chapman again this season? That's a big question mark. Devers is a better hitter than Chapman at third base, if that's where he is going to just kind of slide in and replace Chapman for now. But he is not a good fielder. Chapman's an elite third baseman in terms of what he can give from a defensive side. So, you're not necessarily getting one-to-one from, I would say, a WAR perspective. I kind of almost see this as maybe a slight upgrade, but it's not like it's like this massive, oh my goodness, like the Giants just got Aaron Judge or something to add to that lineup. It definitely does help their lineup. I think it's interesting that they have the Adames contract that they just signed. They just added Devers. They're clearly really going for it right now. And on the flip side, you're not going to be getting great prices, I think, for them to make the playoffs, for example, starting tomorrow. So you probably missed your opportunity to buy on the Giants for now. Although if you're looking to make the playoffs as a no, that might be interesting. Would be kind of curious to see what the prices would be, for if you want to kind of fade them. So those are my initial thoughts. We're going to talk about this, I think, a lot more later this week. We've got a guest coming on who also is, a Red Sox fan. We'll kind of see their thoughts later this week and talk about that. And look, I buried the Red Sox a couple weeks ago, so maybe this is looking better for that. Adam disagrees and thinks we probably should be resurrecting them, but we'll talk a little bit more about that later this week also and get some more details. See if there's some other prospects or some other stuff that the Giants are including, because I have a hard time believing if it's just Hicks and Harrison and them just taking the contract, that would have been enough. I feel like there's got to be a little bit more there. So we will talk about that a little bit later. But what I want to do right now is similar to the last time that we had Adam do this show by himself, is want to bring on Spencer back onto the show, our producer here for Dad's Bet Baseball. And I'm sure, Spencer, you probably want to remind me here at this point that this is Dad's Bet Baseball. You can find us on Twitter at Dad's Bet Baseball. Podbean. You can find us on X. You can find us on YouTube, on Instagram. You can also, for friend of the pod, Hall of Fame bets, make sure to use the code DADS. That is going to give you a 7-day free trial and 50% off your first month. Again, that promo code is DADS. Help support the show, so make sure to go use that if you haven't already. Hall of Fame bets, great app to do some of this research. So, Spencer, I know your mind has been a little bit more focused on not on the baseball green, on the more of the fairway green today. So I want to talk about that in a few minutes, but I know you were kind of asking Adam and I a few other questions the other day around, this whole moniker of what CLV is. Can you kind of tell me what was top of mind for you there?
Yeah, it's the educational part of the show when it's a solo episode that I enjoy, because I'm the amateur between us three, where you guys are excellent at finding markets, values. But something I want to kind of hone in on is CLV. Like, what is it? Dumb it down for me and dumb it down for our audience who may just be getting involved in what we're doing here.
So CLV, for everybody listening who is, if this is like my mother-in-law, who I know listens to this show, if it's Spencer, if you haven't been betting a lot, or you're just starting to get into betting, or you're getting a little serious about betting, CLV is closing line value. So all that CLV really means is, Spencer, let's say you went to bet let's see, what games do we have for tomorrow? So let's say we've got the Angels and Yankees. Okay. You're feeling like it's going to look like it's going to be potentially a over for tomorrow for the Angels and Yankees, because you've got Soriano for the Angels and you've got Clark Schmidt for the Yankees. Right now, that line is at 8.5. You bet the over at 8.5. By the time that game starts, that game closes at 9.5. Congratulations. You have just acquired CLV. So you have, in this essence, think of it almost as you're just basically building equity. You just get a better price than what the market closes on that price. So if you go and buy a stock, I buy a stock at $50 a share, the market closes that day at $60 a share, you've gotten value. And that's all that is really in betting. That makes sense?
Yeah, my only follow-up question is, what would cause it to go up a run, so I guess right before first pitch?
Okay, so there's a couple of ways that you can gain CLV in any market. So CLV is not just unique to baseball. It's for anything that you're going to be betting. It's football, literally any market. And there could be a lot of reasons why a number could move. So if we're going with that Angels Yankees, right, that 8.5, let's say that you have maybe there is an injury. Maybe Clark Schmidt comes out tomorrow morning and says, my arm's sore, and they're going to end up throwing someone, a much worse pitcher. They're going to throw.
So more or less, you like the number, but it could just get even better for you.
Totally. So that's one way, right? There's information. There's an injury that could happen. Maybe there's an inclement weather type of event. Maybe instead tomorrow, let's say the other way, right? You take the over, it ends up closing at 7.5, but that's because there's a torrential downpour. There's a huge storm coming in, and it's just going to maybe depress some of the offense. You've got some of those types of external factors. You have information. The other big thing would be really just about where is money going. So in that kind of question, you had said, like, if I have 8.5, let's say you bet that, a couple of other professional betting groups also agree with you. Maybe you don't know that. You don't know these people unless you're there is some sort of secret underground syndicate, Spencer, that you work with that you don't tell me about, which if you do, let me know. But uh, let's say that group does put in a lot of money towards the total, you would then see potentially markets react to that. They would take that as sharp information, and then that line would end up moving up to from 8.5 to 9, and that's
kind of
really
like we
just
see
kinda
with
how
the Super Bowl all week
Yes,
for 2 weeks,
exactly. Yep.
basically.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, and we could riff on this for hours and hours on end. The main thing I wanted to call out here, given that I'm also recording this here at 8:52 Eastern on a Sunday night, is that if you are just starting or kind of just starting, like beginning your handicapping, especially of baseball, and you want a way to kind of be able to start getting CLV, because the more CLV that you can get, or at least acquire in theory, over time, that will help you become a winning bettor. There's a whole kind of nuance in some markets. Maybe you don't get as much CLV, and that's not a bad thing. But that's why it's important to look at, if I'm looking at that 8.5, that's an opening line. Start doing some of your research the night before those different games. You'll know the starters. You'll have a good idea of the projected lineups on our website at handygraphs.com. We have a tab you can click tomorrow for the batters as well as the pitchers to see exactly the starting pitching, the starting batting lineups, and you can kind of cross compare which guys are going to, potentially be guys you want to fade, guys you want to back. Those numbers, the openers, are almost always going to be the softest numbers because they're really just lines that the books are putting out themselves, or they've done maybe a little bit of what we would call price discovery. And now they're kind of waiting for the market to react and tell them what the line really should be. So you have a chance right now to go do that. And, for like that Yankees Angels game, if you kind of go look, for example, at some of the guys in that game, Schmidt has been 1.53 ERA, 2.31 xERA in the last three. Soriano has been pitching a lot better, and Soriano pretty good on the road. So, like, even just with that 20 seconds that I just did as an eyeball to kind of see who's been pitching well lately, who's got good home, good away splits, I look at 8.5 and I go, maybe at plus money where you could get that on Caesars right now, that's worth sprinkling a little bit of money on. And you can start to track this. You can start to see how much CLV, how much are you beating that closing line by? And if you start really just kind of attacking some of those openers, that is going to be the easiest way to get CLV. The harder to get CLV it is as you get closer to the game time.
Hey, that explains plenty to me. That explains plenty.
That's what I'm here for. You don't even need ChatGPT. Just get me on a podcast here, put in your query related to betting, and I will spit out something for you. Even if I am not going to be available on demand or writing up research reports or the 20 million other things that ChatGPT can do for you. So hopefully that helps our listeners. Spencer, I hope that helped you. Again, if you have that underground syndicate, give me those deets offline here. But we'll try and do some of these again as we kind of have, if we do any more like the solo pods. I'm sure Adam can comment a little bit on this when he comes back later this week. So as we come in here, though, to the turn, kind of keeping this episode a little bit short, given that we are just doing this as a solo show. Spencer, instead, I don't have a dad move this week. I just want to ask you, how was your Father's Day?
It was good. I spent it mainly on the couch watching an awesome U.S. Open. And I know you were there.
I was at the U.S. Open. This is, if you're watching live, you can see my entire face looks like a cherry right now because I did not apply sunscreen yesterday at Oakmont. We did not expect the sun to come out. The weather was supposed to be completely terrible, which if you watch live today, that's what it was supposed to be doing yesterday. It just ended up happening today. I Have you ever watched a golf tournament with that much carnage at the end of it? Like that, I don't think I've ever seen anything. I don't think I've at least ever seen a leading group. I believe they both went 8 over today. Is that right?
That checks out. That checks out. I don't know. I kind of like watching golfers struggle because you have tournaments where, hey, it's about the highest score, then it's survival and a tough course like this. So I don't know. I kind of like the opposite of what we get in a golf tournament, where it challenges you in a different way. Where before the course, like Tiger Woods, for example, when he was so dominant, they had to change all the courses, make them longer for him. So this is like an equalizer. No matter how good you are or how bad you are, you probably had a chance, assuming you made the weekend.
Yeah, I mean, this is one of the reasons why, to me, I mean, the Masters is the easy answer. If you ever like talk to anybody who watches golf, it's like, well, of course, it's the most prestigious. It's got the most tradition. It's got the best jingle in sports. The U.S. Open, though, is my second favorite tournament, just because of that aspect. And I know when I was there Saturday, I saw a couple of golfers throw clubs. It's I wouldn't want to see the U.S. Open every single golf tournament. I only want to see it once a year. But I do also get a lot of pleasure out of just watching guys like I feel like what every American feels when they're out on the course who is
They're
not
just like
as,
me.
yeah,
They're just like me. Even with
it's
the
kind
club
of
throwing and I think I counted like 6 or 7 F bombs during the weekend that snuck on air.
it's kind of almost like when I hand my kids to like my parents, to watch my kids or something for a few hours, and I come back and they just look totally like lost or discombobulated. I'm like, cool. Now now this is what you see every day. This is how you just have to kind of run things when you're a parent. So that's great to hear, though, man. Like I said, I did a lot of golf watching. Got to spend time with my kids. Um, Father's Day always a weekend I look forward to every year. So for all the dads again that have been listening, took 20 minutes out of your Father's Day here to listen to Dad's Bet Baseball. Just want to say kudos to you. Thank you again. We will be back later this week. We've got
Friday,
Adam coming
maybe.
back.
We're thinking
I think
Friday.
Friday is when we'll be back for this. If it's going to be Thursday, we'll post that on X and let everybody know. But for Dad's Bet Baseball, I am Slippin' Jimmy. You can find me on X, Twitter at Dad's Bet Bet. Again, make sure to use the code DADS for Hall of Fame bets to get your 1 week free trial and 50% off. And you can find us obviously on all the socials, YouTube, X, as well at Dad's Bet Baseball. So, Spencer, for the final word, what is it?
U.S. Open, rough.
Rough.